Good evening, everyone. Welcome to NTD Tonight. I'm David Lamb. I'm sitting in for David Zhang. Here are some of today's top stories. President Biden breaks the silence on a presidential debate. He recently said he's happy to debate former President Trump. The Metro Board of Directors declares a public safety emergency after recent attacks on the transit. Find out how locals are feeling. A fire struck a historic pier in Southern California yesterday. It's now mostly contained after battling the blaze for an entire night. First up, tensions remain high on college campuses across the nation as anti-Israel protests continue. At Columbia University, the epicenter of the demonstrations, the 48-hour window for negotiations has passed. The school and the student protesters haven't reached an agreement and the encampment continues. The school said last night, "We have our demands and they have theirs. A formal process is underway and continues." Speaking on Fox News earlier, NYPD Chief of Patrol John Chell warned protesters that a Seattle-style occupation zone won't be tolerated. Police in other parts of the country arrested dozens of protesters yesterday, including at Indiana University in Bloomington, Ohio State University, and Emory University in Atlanta, Georgia. The White House declined House Speaker Mike Johnson's call to send the National Guard troops to deal with the campus protests. The White House called it a state issue. Yesterday, the University of Southern California said it's calling off its graduation ceremony this year, citing security concerns. The move comes 1 week after canceling the valedictorian speech. Students at USC react to the news.
USC did not handle the situation properly. I think that they offended many different groups in the way that they handled this. They weren't very clear at any point.
I feel really bad for all the students that have worked so hard. And also on top of that, these are like the students from 2020 who missed their high school graduation, and now they're missing their college graduation. That's really messed up.
President Joe Biden is saying he is happy to debate former President Donald Trump ahead of this year's general election. Biden made that statement in a radio interview with Howard Stern earlier today. Trump responded on X almost immediately by saying, "Anywhere, anytime, any place." This is the first time Biden has said explicitly he would debate Trump in this election cycle, but he has left open what format the debates might take. His campaign hasn't set out any specific debate plan. Previously, Biden was vague about committing to a debate challenge, saying it would depend on the former president's behavior. On the other hand, Trump, although never participated in any of the Republican primary debates, has shown eagerness to take on Biden in a debate. In his X post, Trump says, "In fact, let's do the debate at the courthouse tonight on national television. I will wait around." 1 in 5 milk samples nationwide have tested positive for traces of bird flu. That's according to initial results of a Food and Drug Administration analysis. Scientists say the risk to the general public is low, and milk on the shelves is safe to drink due to the pasteurization process. Still, these results indicate the bird flu outbreak in dairy cows is more widespread than previously believed. According to the CDC, 1 human case from a person exposed to infected cows has been linked to this outbreak. Tennessee Governor Bill Lee said that he planned to sign a bill that would allow school staff members to carry concealed handguns on school grounds. The governor says it's important to give school districts the option to use a tool he says will keep children safe. The GOP-controlled State House passed the measure Tuesday, mostly along party lines. Under the bill, those seeking to carry concealed handguns at school must undergo at least 40 hours of specialized school policing training every year. They also need written permission from law enforcement. There are currently at least 26 states that allow teachers or school staff to carry guns on school premises, with certain exceptions. In the wake of the recent vicious attacks on Los Angeles Metro Transit, one Los Angeles County member now fears taking the transportation herself. NTD's Christina Corona has more details on the story.
An LA Metro board member expressed fear, stating she wouldn't ride the city's transit alone. The remarks come after a board meeting when the board of directors declared a public safety emergency. Board member Catherine Barger, a member of the LA County Board of Supervisors, said in Thursday's meeting, "I will not ride our transit system by myself. I am afraid and I sit on Metro, but I will not ride it." This comes after a string of violent attacks this month, resulting in multiple victims hospitalized and one woman dead in Studio City on Monday.
Tragic and heinous slaying of Myrna Souza by an individual who had previously attacked a passenger on a Metro train in Los Angeles and was ordered to stay away from Metro trains for 3 years.
The suspect, 45-year-old transient Elliot Noden, stabbed Souza in the throat with a pair of kitchen knives. He has been charged with murder and could face life in prison upon conviction. Earlier this month, a bus driver was stabbed by a passenger in Willowbrook, while another man was stabbed in the Silver Lake neighborhood on the same day in unrelated incidents. We spoke with a Metro rider who shared his thoughts on the recent crimes.
It's not really something you could really exactly prepare for unless you just stay to yourself, stay out the way, and try to avoid people who you would feel like might have bad intentions. And it's kind of unpredictable. Anybody who's doing a stabbing like that is not in their right mind.
He says more security could help, but wouldn't be enough to protect the passengers.
Since you're kind of trapped on these trains for so long and they only come so often, I don't know if having more transportation would be a better thing.
LA Metro officials authorized emergency approval to provide its 2,000 Metro buses with shatterproof glass barriers around transit drivers. Assaults on bus operators have increased from 92 in 2019 to 160 in 2023, and attacks have continued this year. The board said they are looking into the possibility of banning problematic individuals from Metro altogether. Christina Corona, NTD News, El Monte.
2 politicians in California were burglarized recently, along with a mayor's security guard seemingly getting assaulted. All 3 incidents happened separately, but prompted one mayor to commit to hiring more police. On Thursday, Representative Adam Schiff had his luggage stolen in San Francisco. He showed up to a meeting dressed casually without a suit. Schiff's car was parked in a garage downtown when his belongings were stolen. The Democratic congressman is running against Republican Steve Garvey for the late Senator Dianne Feinstein's seat in Congress. This week, Cron 4 posted a video of San Jose Mayor Matt Mahan doing an interview when a man walked by.
So we're doing an interview, sir.
And got into an argument with a plainclothes San Jose officer, appearing to eventually hit the guard in the head. The mayor's office told NTD that the mayor and officer are now doing fine, saying the actions of the officer were heroic and a testament to the de-escalation training that makes our officers effective, compassionate, and stewards of community trust. Mahan says he's committed to hiring more police and addressing the root causes of crime. And over the weekend on Saturday, Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass's home was broken into by a 29-year-old. LAPD said the burglar roamed around inside before being arrested. He got in during a security shift change. A large fire struck a historic pier in Southern California Thursday afternoon. First responders worked through the night to get it under control. NTD's Jason Blair reports.
Officials said the fire started around 3 p.m. Thursday in Oceanside, California. Heavy smoke was seen coming from a vacant restaurant at the end of the pier. Firefighters battled the blaze on foot using boats as well as helicopters. Oceanside Fire Chief David Parsons said 90% of the pier is intact. Most of the damage has been done to the vacant buildings at the end of the pier. No injuries have been reported. The city said that the blaze has been contained to the far west end of the pier as of 7 o'clock Friday morning. The pier has since been closed. The beach is also closed until further notice because of chemicals and other possibly hazardous materials getting into the ocean due to the fire. According to the city, Oceanside Pier was first built in 1888. Since then, it's been reconstructed several times. It's the longest wooden pier on the West Coast at 1,954 feet. It's popular among both tourists and locals. The city said a cause is expected to be determined within a few days. Jason Blair, NTD News.
We'll take a short break now, everybody, but here's a look at what we have for you when we come right back. Scientists have created a robot to help detect lung cancer. We'll take a look at how it works. The NFL draft is on. We'll bring you a recap of the first round of picks and how teams are shaping up. That and more on NTD News. Welcome back to NTD Tonight. I'm your host, David Lamb. The American Cancer Society reports about 125,000 people in the U.S. are expected to die from lung cancer in 2024. Like many cancers, early detection is believed by doctors to be crucial. And at one hospital, they are improving the diagnosis with the help of a new robot. NTD's Christina Corona has the details.
For patients with concerning findings like nodules detected during screenings, doctors aim to enhance the accuracy of diagnosis by efficiently locating these nodules in the lung for biopsy.
Nodules can be can create a lot of anxiety for patients because when they have spots in their lungs, we and patients worry about cancer. Some nodules are too small to biopsy, but other nodules we have to biopsy to determine if there's cancer or not.
At Mills Peninsula Medical Center in Burlingame, California, Sutter Health is utilizing a new ion bronchoscopy robot to aid in diagnosis.
This tool allows us to go after almost any nodule in the lung to try to provide patients with diagnostic certainty. When we can give patients diagnoses, we can alleviate some of their anxiety and/or we can make treatment decisions to help take care of whatever their problem is.
The new ion robot enables doctors to navigate the lungs using a virtual map generated from the CT scan conducted during screening. It also offers a real-time view of the lungs as the catheter advances into the lungs' airways.
The robot is thin, so it can actually get to a lot more branches than we currently can with our current bronchoscopes.
Dr. Zeider noted that the new robot has two main benefits.
This allows us to, one, get to the nodules that radiology could not otherwise get to. Two, biopsy nodules from the inside, which has a much lower risk of lung collapse that radiology may have not wanted to do in the first place.
According to the American Cancer Society, lung cancer accounts for about 1 in 5 of all cancer deaths. Christina Corona, NTD News.
Now let's shift gears to the gridiron, where the NFL's first-round draft brought excitement and frustration to some passionate fans. Here's NTD's Carlos Reyes.
In a whirlwind of excitement and anticipation, the NFL's first-round draft unfolded with more twists and turns than a roller coaster ride. The night belonged to the offensive juggernauts, with 6 quarterbacks snagging top spots within the first 12 selections. For the Chicago Bears and their devoted fans, Thursday night was nothing short of a touchdown celebration. After what feels like eons of waiting, the Bears finally landed a quarterback prodigy in Caleb Williams. The organization, thirsty for a true franchise quarterback since black and white TV days, can now breathe a collective sigh of relief. And Williams, well, he's stepping into a dream scenario for any rookie quarterback. With DJ Moore and Keenan Allen as receiving powerhouses, plus the addition of Rome Odunze, the Bears' offense is shaping up to be a force to reckon with. Add in the protection from rising stars Braxton Jones and Darnell Wright on the offensive line, and Williams has all the ingredients for success. Plus, let's not forget about the defensive might of the Bears, setting the stage for a Chicago revival. But it's not just about the Bears, it's about the mastermind behind the scenes, general manager Ryan Poles. With foresight sharper than a quarterback spiral, Poles orchestrated a master plan, patiently building a roster ready to welcome its quarterback powerhouse. A stark contrast to what could have been with a different timeline, Poles' vision has Bears fans dancing in the streets. Unfortunately, not every team emerged from the draft with fireworks and confetti. Enter the Atlanta Falcons, stumbling into a quarterback conundrum that could rival a daytime soap opera. Despite the logic of planning for the future, their selection of Michael Penix Jr. at a ripe age of 24 raised eyebrows across the league. With a hefty contract already inked for veteran Kirk Cousins, the Falcons managed to create a quarterback controversy before the ink dried. Penix, no stranger to adversity with a laundry list of injuries, now finds himself in a peculiar position. While sitting behind Cousins may have its benefits, it's a far cry from the on-field experience he needs to blossom into a star, and quickly. But it's not just the quarterback drama that leaves a bitter taste in Atlanta's mouth. Passing on defensive gems in favor of a questionable pick raises concerns about the Falcons' game plan. With promising defensive talents ripe for the taking, the Falcons opted for a curveball that left fans scratching their heads. Carlos Reyes, NTD News.
Ramen is one of the most beloved dishes in Japanese cuisine. The comforting noodles are also becoming increasingly popular in the US and South Korea. NTD's Andrew Thomas has more on this culinary trend.
Often cooked right before your eyes behind dingy counters, ramen comes in various flavors and local specialties. Some Japanese frequent ramen places 2 or 3 times a week. The traditional Japanese dish is also gaining traction in the US.
I think there will continue to be interesting ramen in Japan, especially Tokyo, where they're experimenting. And then also outside of Japan, I think we're going to see some very interesting ramen.
Mexican chain Del Taco recently introduced shredded beef birria ramen.
Noodles and soup around the world is consumed in so many different countries. A lot of countries around the world have their own version of ramen in a way. So I think because of that, it's a dish that's easy to understand. It's a dish that's easy to get behind.
Graduate student Katie Sell says ramen is much different from the food she grew up with.
I think ramen is just, it's so soothing, it's so warm, and it's got such depth of flavor that trying the different ones is just like a very fun, very warm experience. So I think a lot of fun just to get to try a lot of the different ones, but I think that's why I like ramen as
Gourmet Innovation in Tokyo has signed on 250 of Japan's top ramen joints to sell packaged versions of their dishes. Co-founder and executive chef Kenichi Nomaguchi says ramen is difficult to replicate at home. Making it involves hours of cooking the stock, using pork, beef, chicken, and various fish.
To cook ramen, you have to boil bones and meat for a very long time to make the broth. Dishes like curry or gyoza dumplings or udon are relatively easier to make at home. But if you try to make a bowl of ramen from scratch, it's extremely troublesome.
But that doesn't mean enthusiastic home cooks can't try. If it doesn't work out, one of Nomaguchi's frozen ramen should provide the desired experience. Andrew Thomas, NTD News.
This week, 25 years ago, 10,000 practitioners of Chinese mind and body practice, Falun Gong, gathered peacefully in Beijing. This has been seen as the trigger of a brutal suppression that followed. What happened and how it developed to forced organ harvesting. Watch an NTD special this Saturday. Here's a preview.
The world first heard of Falun Gong 25 years ago. On April 25, 1999, 10,000 Falun Gong practitioners gathered in front of Zhongnanhai, the home and office compound of the Chinese leader. The spiritual meditation practice teaches the principles of truthfulness, compassion, and forbearance, and was first released to the public in China in 1992. 7 years later, it had growth so popular that the Chinese Communist regime deemed it a threat. 3 months after that peaceful demonstration, Beijing launched an all-out persecution against the faith, seeking to eradicate the 100 million people practicing.
I said, this is a Buddhist revival movement. I don't see that as this massive threat. So there was something else going on.
Those practicing Falun Gong inside China were fired from their jobs, kidnapped from their homes, and thrown in prison. But later, evidence of an even worse crime started to come out to light. The forced organ harvesting of prisoners of conscience while they're still alive. Those organs going on to supply China's lucrative organs match and transplant market.
The organ harvesting is the genocide aspect. This entire organ transplant system was built on the backs of Falun Gong. This is something that's going to hit every group. It's going to hit the Tibetans. It's just a question of getting the right hospitals set up in their region. If there had not been the Ukraine war, if October 7th hadn't happened, that bill would have gone through.
Watch our interview with investigative reporter and Nobel Peace Prize nominee Ethan Gutmann this Saturday, April 27th on NTD's China in Focus.
Speaking of China, stay tuned for China in Focus with Tiffany Meyer coming up next. Secretary of State Antony Blinken says there's evidence of the Chinese regime attempting to influence upcoming U.S. elections. Here are experts' assessments of the situation. More details coming tonight on China in Focus with Tiffany Meyer at 9:30 p.m. Eastern. And that's all we've got for you tonight. We'd like you to join us again on NTD Tonight every weekday at 9 p.m. I'm David Lamb, sitting in for David Zhang. Have a wonderful weekend.